What the Speak, episode 51. Mama said knock you out.
Do you kick ass when you speak, present, or pitch? If not, these expert discussions and insider tips can help you right now, today. Welcome to the What the Speak podcast. I'm your host, Brian Kelly.
I want to thank you so much for either listening to or watching today's episode. If you love What the Speak, please do me a big favor and help spread the word. Go to whatthespeak.com/love. Again, it means the world to have your support and your enthusiasm, so thank you. Nick Unsworth, are you ready to answer the question, what the speak?
Yeah.
All right. Cool, man. Well, Nick, I know that you are a Facebook marketing expert on the verge of being a guru. You are a business coach, a lifestyle entrepreneur, and really somebody who's been taking the world by storm with your Life on Fire message. But let's hear it directly from you. Can you briefly tell us about who you are and what it is that you do?
All right, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I'm just really excited to be here. This is a big honor to be part of What to Speak and to be hanging with you today. And I think overall, man, ever since I was a little kid, I've just had a burning desire to love what I do for work. You know, having, whether it be, in some cases, kids are abandoned when they're little kids. In some cases, parents are working far too much and you don't get to see them. I just grew up in a way where all I cared about is I wanted to have the lifestyle. I wanted to be able to have time. I wanted to be able to have money. And most importantly, I just wanted to love what I do, man. That's the main driver. So my story goes up and down to some crazy highs and lows. But at the end of the day, my mission is just to help other people love what they do. So I've had a pretty crazy ride as an entrepreneur. And overall, throughout that journey, there's been a lot of emphasis on marketing on Facebook. That's one of the easiest ways to grow your leads and traffic and monetize your message and your gift that you've got to share. So
cool. Well, I know, you've done some really cool things with giving back to the community, and you guys do this thing, Pay It Forward Friday. Like, it's just, there's some really cool stuff. So I commend you on, this isn't just about being successful and making the bling bling. Like there's stuff that you love, that you have a passion for, and you live it out to the fullest.
And that's what's huge, man, because, if you get the nice car or you get the house or whatever that it may be, you quickly realize that it's not the money that makes you happy. And the way I look at it is if you're not building a business with purpose and you're not letting those unique gifts and talents out in a way that's going to build a legacy for your name or for your business or your life, you're leaving such a huge part out on the table. And, so a big thing for us is the way that we teach it is, you want to monetize your passion. You want to do what you love every day. The money always follows. But the other thing is that you want to make sure that you're building in purpose. So for us, we do Pay It Forward Friday. It's people say, how does that tie into being a business coach or a Facebook marketing expert? And quite frankly, it doesn't. Like, I just love doing it. We're on camera doing nice things for other people. Good stuff comes back. And why do you always give back to charity along the way? And it's like, at the end of the day, if we make more money as a business and then we can use that money to then create change and help impact other people that aren't as fortunate, then that drives us. It's not just let's make more money as a business. We're not only making more money helping our clients and doing good, but we're also then using it as another reason why. It's more inspirational. Why do I get up early? Why do I, work extra hard? It's not just about our customers. It's a bigger mission than that, which is, I think, gives you that inspired action every day, which is huge, man. It's huge.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about when you get up in front of an audience of people in a live setting. And I know you do a lot of virtual stuff online, through webinars and whatnot. What are some of the topics that you're typically presenting on, the various things related to your area of expertise?
Yeah. So, one of my biggest expertise, sets is Facebook marketing. So, I'll come in, I'll speak in front of a large group. The biggest has been about 1,500 people. And so I'll come in and talk about how to use Facebook marketing to build out, a following on Facebook. So that's how to grow your likes. That's how to grow your influence, because when you have a lot of likes on Facebook, when you have an audience on Facebook, it creates perception, creates brand, positioning and all that good stuff. But most importantly, I think what's always set me apart from all the other social media marketers is that my mission has always been, how do you monetize Facebook marketing and earn money from it? Not just likes. Likes without revenue mean nothing. Well, they're great for branding, but they don't help your business with revenue, right? So I'm always talking about how to create an actual tangible return on investment with Facebook marketing. And to do that, it's actually very simple, but it just requires, could be a Facebook ad where you're giving away something, for free. And we call that a lead magnet. So you want to really know who your audience is and you want to help them first and then build a marketing funnel so that you're building your email list, you're building up your likes all at the same time. And at the end of it, you might be using a webinar. You might be selling from a stage, but use Facebook to get the targeted leads, bring them in, build rapport, add value, and then boom, make your offer at the end so that they want to buy. Not just, you're selling, pitching, they really get it to they want to buy. So that's a main one has been Facebook marketing. That's been something that I've been crushing for a while, which is cool. Outside of that, I've been talking quite a bit about life on fire, what that means and how to take someone that they might have a desire to be an entrepreneur. They might have a corporate job. They might have that little dream inside them. Like, remember back when we were little kids and it's like everything was possible. You could be an astronaut. You could be a freaking football player. Like, there was no limitations, right? There's no glass ceilings. There was nothing hindering us. And then as we get older, life just slowly beats the crap out of us, right? And we lose all these dreams and we lose that fire. And all I'm here to do, my message is saying that it's never too late. Like, you can go back to the dream that you've had. If you don't like your job, then why are you doing it? If you're an entrepreneur and you're scatterbrained and you don't know what to do or where to start, or maybe you're doing something and it's just hard, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. So we, with our message, we help them figure out what it is that their unique gifts are, that they're good at, so that they're in the zone, and how to build a business around it, how to market it, So I love talking about that.
Yeah, it's great because, and the thing that I appreciate most about what you've got going on is that, the first thing you talked about with Facebook marketing is very tactical. It's very step-by-step kind of things that ultimately, they help move the needle when you're talking about business, especially business in our current environment and leveraging social media to drive business. But there's that flip side, the other side of the coin where, it's like, why are you doing what you're doing, or what is it that you want to do? How do you get there? Yeah, we've got the strategies and the tactics to help you do that, but there's something bigger there, and that's the thing that I really like with your message in particular.
And that's been one of the biggest discoveries. Actually doing our one-day events where, from stage we're talking and teaching, what life on fire means and how to live it. And so we break it to 4 pillars. We've got mindset, marketing, networking, and purpose. And what's interesting is that my brain is a very how-to thinking brain. So I like to think in logical steps of like, all right, Facebook marketing, here's 10 steps to do Facebook marketing. But what's so interesting is that I've always been a tactical guy, given like the actual blueprint. And what I realized from doing all these events is that if you give someone the blueprint, if I give you the exact formula to crush it with Facebook ads, it's like what we're doing with John Lee Dumas, the guy spending $1,000 and making $19,000. Imagine that. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. That's all trained and taught to Valerie Shubin, who's like, a client of ours. She's doing this for him. And but the thing is, if people don't get themselves to do it, or if they do it, make all this money, but they're not happy on the inside, nothing matters. Like, success is worthless without happiness. So, to holistically start with mindset and really make it the full picture. So, for us, it makes it harder to market because we're trying to do it all. But at the end of the day, the outcome is if we can have someone, from mindset to marketing to networking to purpose, it's the full, full package.
I love it. All right. Well, let's talk about your personal journey, your origin story, so to speak, on how did you get into public speaking? And I know you've got some interesting stories here, and it wasn't all easy and rosy for you to get up in front of an audience. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey into the world of public speaking?
Oh my God, I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it because it was nuts, right? So, so my first experience was I was in high school and I played football and sports, and I totally am not athletic. I just had this determination, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. I was determined I was going to play football. Everyone told me I couldn't do it. Long story short, by end of senior year, I ended up doing it starting. I played through injuries, and I ended up being good somehow. I was the little guy. I was 150 pounds, played center. I was Rudy. I was way cooler than Rudy, but I was freaking Rudy, right? I was Rudy that partied. But I ended up literally just conquering like the craziest odds, and because I just mindset, right? I just was determined. And by the end of my senior year, or after the season senior year, I got this crazy award, the High School Hall of Fame. And so I get this big award. It's a huge deal. There's only 10 people per state. And they're all like, hey, where are you playing football? Everyone's like going D1. My couple guys have gone to the NFL. I never even got an option to play D3, right? So like I was too small. So anyway, we have this big event to receive this award. And we go to it. And of course, I'm looking at all these huge football players, and they got these index cards, and they're flipping through, feverishly. And like, oh, you must have won the cash like scholarship. They're like, no, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what's up with the index cards? Do you have to do a speech? Because you're like, out of the 10, 3 get a big cash thing. Right. And they said, no, it's for the speech. I'm like, for the speech? Like, what do you mean for the speech? And so we end up sitting at a long table with 10 of us. And they start at one end. My last name being Unsworth, I'm at the other end. Right. And I'm at the end of the table. So the first person goes, he's reading this whole thing. Right. And I'm thinking, I've got 9 people to think of what the heck I'm going to say. All of a sudden they rotate. They go from this side to the other side. I get caught completely off guard. My brother is the only one I can see in the audience. He's literally cherry red, hyperventilating, crying, laughing so hard. Right. So he's dying because he knows I didn't prepare anything, right? So I'm up there saying, I just want to thank, my mom and dad. I have no idea what I'm doing. So that was like, I actually think that they gave me some serious like limiting beliefs about speaking, like because from then on I was mortified. Right. So like once I got into real estate as an entrepreneur, I'd go to these networking meetings. You have to stand up and say your story for 60 seconds, who you are, your name, what you do, right? I went there every week for like 2 years. My heart would race. I would literally sweat, and I would feel completely nauseous, like I was about to throw up. Yep. I hated it. It was like the worst day of my week, right? And so I just didn't like speaking. And then moving forward, I had a business that failed. So I'm 50 grand in debt. And it was like, the business that failed was because of traditional marketing. I ran TV commercials that didn't convert. I got bad advice. But what did happen is I got that company to rank on Google. So I got so much traffic, it was crazy. So it inspired me to say, you know what, there's got to be a better way. Mm-hmm. I want to do online marketing, and I want to help businesses never hire a crappy traditional advertising agency, because I burned through like 50 grand in literally a couple weeks. And TV commercials didn't convert. So I said, there's got to be a better way. I'm going to learn internet marketing. I'm going to learn Facebook marketing. And I did. And I had to cover $3,500 just to pay my bills. I was screwed. I was in real bad shape financially because I was negative so much. And I said, you know what? I have to just start. I made business cards, I printed them on my own computer, and I went to a local networking meeting, and I said, guys, I'm no longer a realtor. I'm a Facebook marketing expert. Here's what I do. And they all looked at me like I was crazy. This was back in 2010, right? So like people were just starting to realize like to market on Facebook. And I just hustled. I just got in front of people, made it happen. But what's interesting is I got my local clients, and I went face to face, belly to belly. I got local clients, and I said, man, I really need to step out. I need some big clients. So I ran an ad on Facebook, and the ad on Facebook basically brought people into a marketing funnel, and it looked really cool, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what happened is that 2 days later from running this ad, and I targeted chief marketing officers. So how cool is that? I'm a local guy. I hardly know what I'm doing, but I knew more than most. That's all you need, right? Yep. So I can help people. So I went from working with like mom and pop small businesses, taking in a couple $100 a clip, to saying, the heck with it. I'm going to go out and target on Facebook chief marketing officers. Like, how cool is that? Yeah. I just had the guts to do it. And then what happens is they see my ad, they came in, they saw my contest, they thought it was so cool. They'd never seen anything like it. And then 2 days later, I get a phone call. So I'm in like this really dumpy, 2-family house in the bad part of town, no kitchen cabinets, no garbage disposal, just just roughing it. And I pick up the phone, like, hi, this is Nick. He's like, oh, wow. I wasn't expecting to get you. Caught me off guard. I was expecting to hear from your receptionist. And I was like, oh, we believe in long lunches here at that. Yeah. And so we start chit chatting, and this guy, Quincy, lives in Hawaii. And he's like, hey, listen, so I'm putting on this big technology conference in Honolulu. We want you to be the keynote speaker. Oh. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is completely insane. Like, they want me to be the keynote speaker. This is the first month in the business. And I'm thinking, how do you even know who I am? And he said, I saw your ads on Facebook, and I was so impressed. So my point of this is Facebook ads equals really good brand positioning. Number two is I accepted the keynote position, and this was the same human being that would stand up and almost vomit thinking about telling my own story about who I am.
Yeah.
Right? So the fear was nuts. And I said, you know what? There's two things I can do here. I can either grow, or I can stay where I'm at and stay small. And I that was one of the big deciding factors for me to get outside my comfort zone and to learn how to communicate to people. So I went out there, and what I realized is that just by not trying to be someone else, but saying, like, one of the first things I said was, guys, quite frankly, I don't normally do this, and I'm really nervous, and it like let the pressure out of the room.
Yeah.
Then I just started being me, and I just started telling people what I did. And no one knew how to do anything on Facebook marketing, and they thought I was awesome because I added value for them. And what I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that I used to always try and like mimic someone else, and I would try and like, have their style, or like hold my hands in that funny little position that people do, right? Where you're like, stand there. And I just finally realized that if I just try and not be someone else, and I just be more like myself, that it comes across more authentic, more genuine, and actually builds better connection. And so since then, I've also made it a very big pursuit to learn how to communicate better and work on it. Because ever since I did that, I realized like this is one of the best ways to build your authority and to make money as an entrepreneur. So it's been great.
Well, Nick, I mean, I really wanted you to get into the nitty gritty of your story, because a lot of the guests that I have on the show they're keynote speakers, they're New York Times bestselling authors, they're people that have been doing this for a long time, and they get paid tens of thousands of dollars to get up and speak in front of people.
Yeah.
But your perspective, your experience is so real and tangible for a lot of people in the audience that are like, look, I don't need to be a keynote speaker. That's not my goal in life. Sure. I want to be a better communicator. I want to be able to share the knowledge that I have. I want to be able to inspire others. Whatever the motivation is, that somebody like you that has this story of being, coming from a place of deep fear and really just not wanting to get up in front of an audience, to then, through the power of Facebook marketing and getting that opportunity, which is something I think a lot of people are finding themselves in, who are at least dialed into some of the new ways to market in the 21st century. All of a sudden, you're being catapulted onto this platform, and you've got this audience, and you've got people that want to hear from you, and it can be frightening. It can be something that you're like, I don't even know what I'm going to say or how I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. But I think, some of the key things, like you said, that the takeaway related to your story is that if you are true to who you are, if you tap into the thing that you love to get up in the morning, the whole reason why you get up in the morning and you do what you do, and you share that with an audience, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people or 1,500 people that you're giving a keynote to, you're going to be able to connect, and you're going to be able to resonate. And Nick, I've seen you speak live. I was obviously at one of your events a couple of months ago in San Diego, and it's you as a real, genuine person. It's on stage telling your story, and people are sitting there in the audience on the edge of their seats because they relate to it. They can understand, they empathize with your story, and are inspired by what you've been able to go on and do, and the things that you're doing to spread the message of a life on fire. And I really want the folks in the audience who may be feeling like, I can't do this. I'm not really very good at speaking. I mess it up every time. No, you can. And it's really just tapping into some of these things that, Nick, yourself, you've been able to tap into.
I think what's so cool is that I think, like, for me, like, I always try and explain to like my clients and things that I'm a like a physical representation of someone that just believes in I believe in myself, and I believe that I can just do what I put my mind to, right? And if we all do that for ourselves, then there's nothing that can ever stop you or hold you back. And I think that as far as like conquering a fear, that if you think that you're the kind of person that can get over a fear, then you will get over it and you will get it done. And it's crazy that when you really, I don't know, I guess when you really just focus on thinking that you can actually do it, then you'll find that you will get it done. And it's like speaking to me it's like anything. It's a muscle. It takes practice. Yep. And my first keynote thing that I did, I'm sure is very different than what I do now. Mm-hmm. But I've been very committed. I mean, shoot, everything from like to your podcast to Michael Burnoff and his training and reading books. And if you commit yourself to getting better and then you're just practicing it, then you will end up being the best version of you. And what's so crazy when you look at some like TED Talks and you look around, when you're totally this is why I love that you brought this up. When you're really in alignment with sharing a message that inspires you, or you're doing what you love, you'll see that people can be good speakers that don't have a lot of formal training because they're just sharing stories. Yep. And they're sharing what they love to do. And if you have me talk on a random topic that I'm not passionate about, I have a much harder time doing it. If I'm, relating to something that I believe in so much, and it's like, our story and our business, it's easier to tell stories about that, but it's like, it's a muscle, just practice like anything else.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting point to make as well, is because I've had this discussion with past guests about this idea that TED Talks are actually kind of ruining, so to speak, the professional speaking industry. Because people are beginning to think, oh, that's what a speaker should sound like, and the professional speakers oftentimes are feeling like, no, that's not what a professional speaker sounds like. They look like this. And I think the important thing is that the reason why TED Talks are just taking off and have been something that people have gravitated towards is because they're real, genuine individuals. They're not putting some type of show on. It's not polished. Maybe a lot of them are using some great techniques to draw people into their message. But at the root of it, the core of what they're doing is they're speaking about something they're very, very enthusiastic about.
Totally.
And that draws you in. As an audience member, you want to hear Bill Gates talk about his particular topic, or Nancy Duarte talk about, her area of expertise, or the guy who's the head of Pixar tell his story about how they use storytelling in the movies. And I mean, there's just all these fascinating things that you can get through those TED Talks. And it's because people are being genuine and they're being real. And that's the thing that I really want people to get out of this.
Absolutely. It's really interesting that it's like every time, I mean, and some people are like teleprompter kind of people. Some people are, need like the full blown structure. They memorize, I guess. But what I found is that anytime I try and put too much structure behind what I'm speaking on, I totally lose that charisma of me just telling a story. And so instead I just try and just take what's the overall outcome I want to get. And I can put like 2, 3, 4, 5 words even to just describe like where I want to take it. And then I can just use that as the map, which is something that I think, me planning too much used to always kind of defeat me, because it's like I used to be like, oh crap, I'd be thinking about what I'm supposed to say instead of just having fun. Yep. And if you're just having fun and being you and sharing like what you already know, then you're not thinking about what to say. And it's funny. I feel like the thinking part is what ruins you. You know what I mean? You're thinking as you're trying to talk, and instead you can get to that flow state where you're unconscious competent and you're just rattling things off. And what I love is that all the things that I've learned about speaking training, whether it's like NLP or like future pacing and all these cool little techniques, what I find is that by learning them consciously, if I'm just trying to tell a story, that I may accidentally just slip in a little, imagine 3 months from now, and you know what I mean? And slip in future pacing or different stuff, So
good. Well, Nick, let's take a quick break, and we'll return in just a second here to go through our rapid fire Q&A portion.
Awesome.
Are you working out right now or listening to this episode while driving? If so, I know you're not able to leave a rating and review in iTunes at the moment. However, next time you're in front of your computer or smartphone, could you be sure to do so? Just go to whatthespeak.com/audio or whatthespeak.com/video. Thanks so much for your support. So Nick, the first question we've got for you in our rapid fire Q&A is, when you get up to give a presentation, are you a slide or no slide kind of a guy?
I'm a slide guy. I like slides, but I like them to be very basic so that I can just take the idea of the slide and run with it. So I'm a slide guy.
Awesome. All right. Now, out of all of the speakers that are out there, and it could be somebody who's living or somebody who is from the past, is there one individual that you look to that gives you inspiration, that really makes you excited about speaking, and why?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I would say Miles McPherson. If anyone wants to check him out, I would highly recommend, you could just go to milesaminute.com. There are daily minute clips. There are these little devotional clips. Now, whether you're religious or not, I mean, he's a pastor, but the way I look at it is that in 60 seconds, this guy can create an emotion in your body and can create action for you. Mm-hmm. And it's incredibly persuasive. It's influential. And I just think that, like, when I see him, when I go to like a mass or something, or like, he just has a presence that is so authentic that he's able to just completely move and inspire people at such an amazing level. I mean, he's really freaking good at it. So yeah, I would say, I mean, there's people in the past, but right now for me, that's one that I love watching. I love studying how he does it. And yeah, so he's amazing. milesaminute.com.
Got it. All right. Now, what's the craziest, funniest, silliest thing that's happened to you while being on stage giving a presentation? Is there anything that stands out that you'd want to share?
Yeah, so I think a big one is so I'm doing this thing with Gary Vaynerchuk. So it was not necessarily on a stage; it was more of like a behind the scenes of his office. And so, if anyone that knows Gary Vaynerchuk, I mean, the guy's a ball of fire, right? So he's just goes and he's super smart. But he, as me being an interviewer, right, it was just hard to kind of wrestle him in. So I think, like, when I watched the replay, watching me try and kind of guide this conversation was hilarious in and of itself. But I think one of the funniest things that happened was, as we're doing the tour around his office, well, I guess the quick backstory is, I'm in New York. I've got this big interview with Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm really excited about it. And I know he likes wine. So I go to this wine store in the city. And so I go in there and I say to the guy, and it's a very bougie place, and I say to the guy, his name was like Alejandro, and I'm like, Alejandro, I need a really good bottle of wine. I mean, something that's going to impress, a guy who's kind of like a client or business guy. And so he starts pointing at a couple bottles, and I say, you don't happen to know Gary Vaynerchuk, do you? And all of a sudden he just like stops, and his eyes just pop out of his head. Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's just like, how do you know Gary? And I was like, I'm about to go interview him. And he knew exactly the bottle that Gary would love. Mm-hmm. So I grabbed that and a couple other things. And so I set it up like near where I was doing the interview. So we're doing the behind the scenes, and all of a sudden Gary just cuts me off, and he just looks over and he goes, is that Cab Franc? And he just like beelined it to the wine. Yep. So I'm like on camera, like, okay, I guess we're going over there, and like running him around. So it was just, that day was a trip, and there was a lot of funny moments. So I think the Gary Vaynerchuk interview was probably the wildest and wackiest.
Love it. Good story. All right. So now, talking about business and really your ability to communicate what it is that you do and to really kind of inspire and influence people. Well, I'd love to get your take on what kind of impact has this had on your business specifically?
Yeah, so the public speaking, like, how is it directly related? Yeah, I mean, I would say what's really cool is that for me, my stage is often on webinars. And what I love is that webinars has been basically how I built this entire business. And it's not only built this business, it allowed me, my goal was to sell a business by the time I was 30. And I obsessed about it. I was doing the Facebook marketing, and all I did for my marketing was Facebook ads, which built my email list, which got people live on a webinar, and then I would teach a topic, or I would feature somebody that knew a topic to teach, right? And I would just do that process, and I'd get 500 new leads, right, to opt in for my webinar. I get 250 live. Boom, I would teach amazing content about Facebook marketing or whatever that may be, and then sell my Facebook coaching program at the end. And every time it allowed me to monetize that ad spend so that it was profitable. And we're so good at it now. Think about John Lee Dumas, the big, podcaster, entrepreneur on fire. He, spends $1,000 now and pulls in 19 grand of revenue. Like, that's nuts, right? That's crazy. And so for me, I took that and I just did it over and over and over. And the first time I ran the ad, the ad got to my speaking. But for me, my platform has been webinars, and that built my email list. That built my revenues. Allowed me to build up a big enough company where I sold that before I turned 30, which was the goal. Or actually, I was technically at 30. And that allowed me to make a few extra bucks. Then from there, with Life on Fire, I'm just doing the same process. We run ads to webinars and rinse and repeat. So that's allowed email list growth, revenue growth. It's created brand perception because all the ads, it funds itself. So that's been amazing. I love the speaking on stage. This is a little bit newer for me, even though I did that first one in 2010. But now, getting paid to speak has been exciting. So that's been great for brand and positioning. And then going and speaking at an event and selling on stage, that's like 5-figure days, like boom, right off the bat. So it's been phenomenal. And I think probably, I guess my last tidbit on that is the biggest takeaway is that because I've been thrown into speaking, what's most life transformational is not the revenues. It's not selling the business or anything like that. The most transformation I've had is it got me to actually start learning how to communicate better. And that communication training, whether I'm on a stage or anywhere in life, it led to better relationships. It's led to better friendships, business, partnerships. And that communication training has served me in all areas of my life and led to just a better freaking life and Life on Fire. So that's just a couple.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last question for you to wrap up is for those folks in the audience that may be afraid to take that step, what advice would you give them that you wish you knew back in those early days before you got it, kind of into regularly speaking publicly? Is there some little nugget or tidbit that you would share?
Yeah, I think overall, I think for me, where it really was so tough for a while was I was always trying to like emulate someone else, and it never came across authentic. I used to try and thought I had to look a certain way or like mimic people, or how people would always some people have a great stage presence where they can walk around and be very mobile from stage. When I do that, I look like a clown. It just doesn't work. For me, I kind of have to stand there. That just but at the end of the day, the takeaway is it's like, if you're an onion and at the core of the onion is you, all the outer layers are all beliefs and fears and what are other people going to think and all this crap. And it's like, how fast can you peel the onion to just be you? Yeah. The more, now when I make videos, I used to, we'd be on the beach and the guy with the camera, people would walk by, I'd be like, no, wait till the person goes by because I feel uncomfortable. And it's like, who cares what people think? Who cares how you look? Or if you feel like you look fat that day, like I do today, actually, I feel like I look fat. But who cares about that? At the end of the day, just be you, right? I'm like, damn, this beard's not working out. My leg hurts. I just had knee surgery. I feel fat. But you know what? Screw it. Just be you, because that's all that really matters. So I think the practical implementation of that is, I think it's, focus on storytelling and more storytelling, less scripting of you got to know your story and map out, write out your story, know the hooks. Yeah. And what I find that is most relatable to people is if you're telling a story, it's always a story about us or ourselves, but you've got to pause and go back and relate it. So it's kind of like for example, me telling my story about me, it's I can relate back to, imagine dreaming when you were a little kid and put it back. It's like a game of, anytime I'm talking about myself, I always have to, the only thing I'm thinking of is how do I relate everything back to the audience? Because no one cares about us.
Yep.
Right? We always want to talk about us, but it's like, how can you just authentically be you? And then always, the one thing that I always obsess about is if I could have one thing in front of me when I'm speaking now, it's remember to relate it back to them. Anytime I'm telling a story. So I could be about, Facebook marketing and getting leads and doing this. It's have you ever had a time in business where you just didn't have enough leads that you wanted? I'm using the word you. Yeah. And it's oh yeah, I have had it at that time. Okay, cool. Here's how a Facebook marketing funnel works. So being you and relating it back to the other people at all times, for sure. Cool. And then just having fun, smiling. If you're doing online trainings like webinars, I've had clients I've trained on this. The difference between non-smiling and like just even if you look like a creep, smile all the time when you're on webinars because they can feel it on the other end. So smile obnoxiously.
Well, great advice, Nick. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing, some of those behind the scenes aspects of your story. I was really excited to have you come on and share those things because I think it's something that a lot of folks can really benefit from hearing that journey that you've been on and kind of where you're going because you're doing some big things. I'm really impressed with the work that you've done and I'm excited to see you and watch you continue to grow.
Well, thanks, man. Now I just got to hit the gym.
That's right. Don't we all?
Chin show.
Well, Nick, I thank you again so much. We're going to have show notes over at whattospeak.com with links to your site, your video podcast is getting ready to come out, your social media profiles, anything else that you've got resource-wise we'll have over there. And I really, again, thank you so much. You are somebody that truly kicks ass when you speak, present, or pitch.
You're awesome. Thanks, man. See you guys.
Absolutely. If you've never seen the story behind how and why the What to Speak podcast got started, visit whattospeak.com/speakbetter to watch the 90-second video. If you like what you see, send the link to someone you know.
All right, here we go with the outro.
Thanks so much for joining us today on What to Speak. Be sure to visit whattospeak.com for show notes on every episode and to sign up for our email list to stay updated on resources that'll help you kick ass when you speak, present, or pitch.